I think in the last maybe 10 to 15 seasons of NFL football that we have, I've never been more confused about the fan reaction to a head coaching hire. Now, I understand Doug Pederson won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. I understand that when he was coaching Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate, and Carson Wentz became one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But I just don't understand how the guy who the very last move that he has made as an NFL head coach when he was with the Eagles was to get a look at Nate Sudfeld and bench Jalen Hurts in the last game of the season when Jalen Hurts is a rookie and he'd been starting the last 8 or 9 weeks. And Doug Pederson wanted to get a look at Nate Sudfeld. Now, this wasn't the only issue that Doug Pederson presented as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles at that last season that he was with the team. It took 12 games of absolutely terrible quarterback play from Carson Wentz for Doug Pederson to finally pull the plug and give Jalen Hurts the keys as the rookie quarterback who was drafted in the second round and was supposed to be the future of the franchise at the position. It took him 12 weeks of 3-8-1 football from Carson Wentz to finally decide, maybe this guy can't do it anymore. And listen, Doug Pederson as a head coach, I guess if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're not going to be able to hire somebody like a Belichick, somebody like a Sean Payton, somebody like a really good head coach in the NFL. I understand. But I don't get why we're settling for a guy like Doug Pederson, a guy who he was so unwanted in NFL circles. Every single NFL team told Doug Pederson, every single NFL team that had a head coaching vacancy, no, we're going to go in a different direction. You can just stay home. Doug Pederson didn't have a job last year. I don't think that's just a coincidence that 32 NFL teams who have about 10 to 15, and that's probably even a lower number than it actually is, but I'm just going to say there's 10 to 15 coaches per roster. So you're telling me a guy who couldn't get a job last year as even some sort of as an assistant coach, and maybe that's his ego that's saying that he couldn't be an assistant coach last year, but either way, this man was out of a job last year. Let's just go ahead and look at what his offenses rank when he is the coach. I mean, 23rd in yards, 20th, 21st, 15th, 22nd, 25th. Now that includes time as him being an offensive coordinator in Kansas City from 2013 to 2015. Passing offense, 24th, 29th, 30th, 24th, 28th. Turnovers is where it's really bad. I mean, whenever he's the coach, the team turns the ball over terribly. And it's just, I just don't understand the point of, and it's not just the point of hiring Doug Pederson, because like I said, I get it, whatever. He coached to a Super Bowl, and just having that accolade as a head coach is going to get you future jobs. I get it. I just don't get why everybody in the media is like, oh my God, the Jacksonville Jaguars hired Doug Pederson as their head coach. Look out, NFL. This is the guy who benched Jalen Hurts for Nate Sudfeld. He knows what he's doing. Like, what are we talking about right now? Why are we talking about Doug Pederson? Like, this is why guys like Matt Nagy, this is why guys who don't deserve jobs get jobs. Because they get hired by somebody who, that somebody probably shouldn't have hired them, but they're going to get talked about in the media like they're just the savior of the franchise that got hired. They are not. Matt Nagy, obviously in Chicago, was not the right option. I think it's probably going to take about 16 months for the Jacksonville Jaguars to realize maybe Doug Pederson wasn't the right option. Plus, there's this tweet from about 15 months ago where Ian Rappaport tweeted out that he spoke with two people close to Doug Pederson at the time that he was in the middle of either being fired or quitting. He kind of was just doing this thing where if it looked like Philly was going to fire him, he was just going to say he quit. But if they gave him what he wanted, he was going to say he was going to stay. And basically that's what Ian Rappaport put in his tweet, is that it basically boiled down to Doug Pederson was sick of people telling him what to do. You're a 50-year-old man and you're the head coach of an NFL football team. There's owners to this thing. There's general managers. There's team executives. There's team presidents. There's vice presidents. And you're sick of people telling you what to do, people who make 10 times your salary. You're sick of people telling you what to do. You're 50 years old. What do you mean you're sick of people telling you what to do? Who in Philadelphia is just being like, okay, Doug Pederson, you have no say in any... Doug Pederson put Nate Sudfeld in the fucking game. Who told him to do that? I don't think anybody told him to do that. I think that was a pretty great scheme from Doug Pederson there. But really, who was sitting in Philadelphia and just being like, yeah, hey, Doug, you have no say in anything, and you're going to listen to everything that we say, and you're going to do what we say? Who was doing that? I just don't get it. And listen, Jacksonville Jaguars fans, listen, I've hated your team ever since I was born. As a Houston Texans fan, I love nothing better than to see that a team in our division, a divisional opponent who, honestly, I just despise more than the Titans and more than the Colts. Like, the type of hate that I have towards the Jacksonville Jaguars, it could never be eclipsed by either of the other two divisional opponents. And the fact that you guys hired Doug Pederson a year after you hired Urban Meyer, and listen, I'm an Ohio State Buckeyes fan, and I thought the Urban Meyer hire was terrible, just absolute dog shit. This is an even worse move, because now there's expectations, for some reason, from the media that this is going to be a good move for Trevor Lawrence and the future of the youthful Jacksonville Jaguars. This team is going to suck. And Doug Pederson is going to be at the forefront of that. And Doug Pederson is going to get exposed as the terrible head coach that he is. He was exposed as that in 2020. I don't get why people are just forgetting about everything that happened. But this is just a terrible move. It's probably the worst move of the offseason by any team in the NFL was to hire Doug Pederson as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And listen, they could go 10-6, and my viewpoint will, or 10-7, I guess, or 11-6, however you want to slice that. But either way, my stance will not change, because guess what? He had a good season in Philly too. There's been plenty of head coach. Matt Nagy had a really good season in Chicago too. There's been coaches who have had really good seasons in the NFL as a head coach, but are still terrible head coaches. Bill O'Brien is probably one of the first names that comes to mind. So it's like, the point of it all is I just don't get it. If someone could explain to me why hiring Doug Pederson, a guy, I don't even need to explain his past because I've already done it and I don't need to beat the dead horse, but if someone could just explain what led to the Jacksonville Jaguars seeing something in Doug Pederson, I would really love to read it because I just can't think of it at the moment.